Here are 5 things I would focus on after I got 501c3 status in order to raise money for my nonprofit. Let's get into this one. Hey there, this is Tiffany with Boss on a Budget. So I help people start their nonprofits and raise money from the ground up. So if you are a nonprofit founder and you're trying to figure out how to navigate the startup space and raise money, you are in the right place. If you need accountability, mentorship through the fundraising process, comment join below and I'll send you a link to my private community and you can sign up once I send you the link. So if I was starting from scratch and I needed to know where to focus, like what is a checklist of things I need to make sure I focused on as a nonprofit founder, this is what I would do. The first thing is I would create a compelling message around the reason why I started my nonprofit. A lot of times when people approach fundraising when they're new, they approach it with the frame that, oh, we're a new organization, help us fulfill our mission or help us launch our organization. And they approach it like they want people to support the launch of the business or the launch of the nonprofit, when you really need to approach it with, help us support these people or these things that need help. Because as a nonprofit founder, you are the facilitator of the work. People give you resources, people give you money to do the work, but they're not necessarily interested in you. They're mostly interested in the results that you create. And so you have to think about the messaging that you're going to tell them to inspire them to want to support the change or the transformation that you create. So a lot of your time needs to be focused on, how do I tell the right story? How do I come up with the right messaging so that people understand what we do and why we do it? So this is a common mistake that people make, and this is a no judgment zone. This is an education zone, so we can all support and learn from each other. But what I've noticed is that a lot of people focus so much on getting their services down or making sure that they get their participants set and they provide the services and they do their activities, but they focus less on how to talk about the importance of the work that they're doing, and they focus less on the marketing aspect of their work. And I'm going to push you and challenge you to think more intentionally about how you're going to market the work that you do and how you're going to share the great impact of the work that you're carrying out in your community. I would try to figure out, what are the key messages that resonate with the people that I'm trying to reach? You need to think about the people who would care most about your mission. Are those the people who are connected to you geographically? Are they connected to you through a personal affiliation? Are they connected to the work because they've done the work before? They worked with the people that you work with. Think about the people who are more likely to want to hear your story, and think about the messages that you're going to show or share with them directly to get them motivated to support and give to your organization. One key document I always tell people they need to use in fundraising is called a case statement. And when people see the templates that I create or they start thinking about the case statement, they get so caught up in completing the case statement that they forget that the point of it is to help you come up with messages, taglines, themes of what you're going to talk about to share your why. So a case statement is you making a case for why your organization needs to exist. So you can use it internally to figure out, who do you serve? What do they look like? What are their demographics? What is their profile? What are they struggling with that you address with your organization? Why is it something that should be addressed now? Why should people pay attention to this? Why is this something that should get more priority maybe over something else happening in your community? What makes your organization stand out, and why are you unique, and why are you uniquely poised to be the people to do this work? You got to go through the process of figuring out why you, because people have to make a choice, and you need to figure out what's the messaging you're going to share with them to help them make that choice, to choose your organization and to choose the work that you're doing to facilitate change in your community. The second thing I will focus on is very much related to what I talked about, and it's perfecting how to talk about your outcomes, not just what you do. So when somebody asks you for your nonprofit, well, what do you do? Or what's your mission? The initial reaction, or what a lot of people do, is, oh, we provide tutoring, or we provide meals, oh, we provide clothes and shoes for people who need it. And that's so important, but it's not compelling enough to get people to move or react. Now, there are some people who are clued in and who care about your work and they care about you. So when you list your activities, they're in. They're like, oh, you do that? Well, I want to donate shoes or I want to donate clothes, right? But you're trying to get people motivated for a deeper reason than what you do. You're trying to get people motivated and get them aware of an issue, get them aware of a problem, because your nonprofit wasn't just set up to do work. It was set up to address a problem. So when you start talking about your nonprofit, you need to focus on how you're addressing that problem and the results that happen or the change that happens as a result of you addressing that problem. So let's use this example. You provide transportation, clothing, prep for people who need to get back into the workforce. There's some kind of barrier or something that's preventing them from getting to interviews or preventing them from getting the jobs that they need, right? So when somebody asks you what you do, it's a natural reaction to say, oh, we provide resume assistance and we provide rides to people who need rides to their interviews or the first couple of weeks of their job, or we provide clothes for people to go on interviews. You know, you could do that laundry list, but I want you to go deeper and ask yourself, why is it that people can't do this themselves? What is happening or what is preventing them? What are the barriers that are preventing people, the people that you particularly serve, from getting what they need? And it could be, well, when you are low income already, you may not have access to clothing to present yourself in the right way. Or you may not have the skill set to know how to craft a resume to get noticed. Or you really want to work, but because you haven't been working, you don't have the money to show up to your job for the first 2 weeks when you haven't gotten a check yet. That's real, right? So I want you to think about like the underlying things or the underlying challenges that happen and what happens as a result of you addressing those things. So when you provide transportation for people, what happens as a result? People get better quality jobs. People are able to maintain their jobs because some people may be able to get jobs, but then as a result of them not being able to show up or show up on time because they're using public transportation, right, they may lose those jobs. So what happens when people can get better quality jobs or when people can maintain those jobs? Their whole quality of life improves. They're able to provide and be present for their children. They're able to provide more opportunities for themselves. There's a better growth path in their career. Maybe they can provide better opportunities for their own children because they can put away more income to support their children's educational goals. There are so many things that can result from you being there in the moment that someone needs you to get to the next step. But my question for you is, what is the next step? What is the result of you being there? It's not just what you do, because what you do is so much powerful than a laundry list of, oh, we provide this, 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 and this. You can help them pick better quality jobs with better pay for a better quality of life for them and their kids. Think about the impact that you're making on these people's lives because you showed up and provided the services they needed at the right moment in time. And when you begin to message to people to ask them to support you in that work, the way you message it is to say, because of your help, because of your support, we were able to provide this assistance so this person could get this. And as a result of this, they now have a job that's $5 more an hour than the job that was right around the corner for them. Or because we were able to provide this resume assistance, they were able to find a job in less than 30 days compared to the 6 months that it typically takes people. So I want you to focus on the outcome, not just what you do, because see, you're so much more than what you do. The third thing I would focus on is understanding my target donor better and figuring out what they want to hear from me. So when you're communicating with somebody or when you're trying to express something to somebody and you want them to retain some kind of information, so many times we approach it with, this is what I need them to know. And this is what I think they should know, instead of this is where this person is and this is how this person will typically respond, or this is what this person wants to hear or has the capacity to hear. And a very practical example, sometimes you want to share a lot of information. You want to share, look, these are 5 things that's happening in the community. You need to know about all these things. And oh yes, this is other thing that you should be aware of. But people don't process information the way you want them to. People don't process information just because you give it to them. It's all about where they are and what resonates with them in that moment. So you can think more strategically about how you say what you say, the language you use, what points that you stress, and the format of all of that. You need to think about how to approach them and how to message with them, and think about what are the key points you can zero in on that you know they would pay more attention to because you know what they care about. So being able to do that means you got to identify who your target donors are. If I were to ask you, okay, who are you trying to target in terms of your individual donors or in terms of foundations or corporations, your answer is not everybody. Your answer is not everybody. Your answer depends on who has showed interest in the people you serve, who sells to the people that you serve, who has supported the people you served in the past, who has interest in your geographic area, who has interest in your topic, right? So there are people who are more aligned with what you do because they've given clues to you about what they care about. So those people are your targets. So you need to think about, okay, who am I specifically trying to target because they would listen to me more than someone just random off the street. Let me take an example with foundations. Your community foundation is way more invested in hearing from you than a national foundation that funds nonprofits all across the country. Your community foundation is supposed to talk to you. Your community foundation, their mission is to learn about what's happening in the community and figure out how to support it. So they're much more inclined to listen to you versus a national foundation where you have no connections to. So your target should be your local community foundations first. You can build out a strategy to think about more national foundations, but your first stop should be those more local, more geographically or regionally based foundations. That's just one example. But I want to give you another example of how you can think about how to tailor your messaging. What a foundation wants to hear from you is different than a corporate sponsor. So from a foundation's point of view, they're giving you a grant. From a corporate sponsor's point of view, they're giving you a sponsorship. But the messaging for those two types of funders are drastically different. So when you're talking to a foundation, especially if it's a substantial grant, they want to know about your mission. They want to understand the need that you're addressing. They want to understand how you're impacting that need. What are the outcomes or the results of the work that you're doing? And they want to see how that aligns with their funding priorities. Well, when you're talking to a corporate sponsor, their goal is around marketing for themselves. So they're partnering with you because they need to achieve some kind of marketing goal, which may not have anything to do with wanting to necessarily help somebody. That's probably not the primary goal. The primary goal is to raise their visibility and to raise their brand awareness. They want more people to see them and associate them with good things in the community. Well, how you message and how you approach those two different types of funders are different. When you're talking to a sponsor, you're talking to them about the number of people you're going to reach and how they can have access to those people and how they can use that to further their marketing goals. Foundations are not as focused on their marketing goals. So that's just another example of how you want to think about who your target donors are. And then once you know who those are, what do they care about? What do they want to hear from you? And tailoring your message to match with that. The fourth thing I would pay attention to is having a narrow focus. So a lot of people, when they start their nonprofits, want to help the world. They literally want to save the world. So I'll have calls with people and they'll be like, I want to help this population, but I also care about this. So I want to help people who are struggling maybe with substance use, but I also want to help babies. And I also want to help grandmothers. And I also want to help people who are disabled in the community. And there's no congruency in the work. Or there are some people who they're pretty focused. I know I want to help young people, but I want to help young people with music. And then I want to do something separate with mental health and meditation. And then I want to do something separate with sports. And then I, want to, and you start piling on these things. And the danger with focusing on too much at one time is that the people on the outside don't have a full grasp on who you are and what you do. So your marketing message is all over the place. Well, if you're trying to reach out to a foundation who cares about children, but you're talking about people who are disabled, they're confused because it's like, oh, I thought you guys were doing this. So you kind of have to focus your efforts on, oh no, this is for our disability program, not necessarily for the kids. So you have to kind of splinter your time and splinter your efforts because different funders are interested in different things based on what you're focused on. So that's just one example of how you can kind of splinter your time. And then you get to a point where you're like, well, I don't know what to focus on. Should I focus on, foundations who are interested in this? Should I focus on individual donors? And then even if you were to figure out, okay, I'm just going to focus on individual donors, well, there are some people who are more likely to respond to your request to help young people versus people with disabilities. And so you kind of have to do separate campaigns and focus your time other places. Do you get where I'm going with this? There's nothing wrong inherently. There's nothing wrong with doing multiple things. But when you are new, it's really important to streamline and focus because your time is limited enough. And so you want to spend the time you do have focused on a signature program that you're shopping around, that you're sharing information about, and that you're focusing on most of all when you're talking to potential donors and potential supporters. It'll help save you heartache, stress, all the things. And also, it's kind of confusing to figure out, okay, when I'm asking for money, should I ask for this program or this program? Because you shouldn't be asking for both. Your audience needs a singular focus because when your audience gets confused, they don't act. When they're confused, they're not going to give, right? And you want to be very clear on what you do, who you serve, why it's important, and what's the outcome of the work that you do. And you want to focus it on that one program to start it out with. If it were me in your shoes, that's where I would start. You can absolutely branch out as you get your footing and start shopping for funding for other types of programming, but keep it simple first, keep it streamlined first, and then build from there. And the last thing that I would do or pay attention to is the size of my network and the number of people that I know. So this is a really hard truth for people, especially if you're an introvert or especially if you're a person who does not like public speaking, which is probably a lot of you watching. You have to meet new people. You have to meet people that you've never been exposed to before in positions that you've never had to interact with. You have to meet people who don't look like you, who don't come from the same background as you. And you have to be skilled at sharing your message with them to get them bought into your message so they want to join, be an ambassador of your organization, and ask for support alongside you. If you're going into this thinking, oh, I'll just fundraise on my own, and fundraising is just about sending messages to people, asking them to donate, and then waiting for the money to come. If you're looking at it in that transactional way, you are severely limiting your ability and the opportunity to make money for your nonprofit. The funding that you need is going to come through your relationships with people. And the more you focus on meeting new people, sharing your message, and educating them about the importance of the work, firing them up, mobilizing people, getting them excited about what you're doing, the more you focus on that, the more opportunities are created to raise more money. When more people know about your mission, care about what you're doing, are willing to share that message with the people they know and the people they love and the people they're connected to because they get so excited about what you're doing, then that's the sauce. So if you want to know what the secret sauce is to raising money, it's people. It's people who know about your mission, who care about you and have a connection with you and a connection with your mission. So if I was starting from the very beginning, I would focus on how am I going to strategically build my network? Because from building your network, you get volunteers, you get board members, you get donors. And it's all about planting seeds, especially in the beginning. It's all about meeting people, refining your message, figuring out what lands with people, and just building from there. It's really important for you to maintain contacts, names of people who you interact with. So you should have what's called a donor relations database, a donor relationship management system. Sometimes it's called that. It's different names, but essentially it's just a database for you to keep a list of all the people you interact with, a list of all the people that you meet, and helps you keep notes about those interactions and the information that was shared in those meetings. That's a very powerful tool you can use to help with fundraising because it helps build a stronger relationship. When you remember things about people, when you genuinely care about what they're going through, when you check in with them. A lot of times these donor databases, they'll have ticklers to remind you to reach out to people. You need that kind of system to be able to keep in touch with people. So one example of a donor database or donor relationship management system is called DonorDoc. So I have used DonorDoc in the past. It has great reviews. It's simple to use. If you'd like to check out DonorDoc and see if it will be helpful for your purposes, then comment donor, DONOR below, and I'll send you the link. So everybody who uses my special affiliate link will get 10% off their first month. Just know, y'all, that I do get a reward if you sign up. So if you are interested in that kind of database, you can try DonorDoc and see if that works for you. And again, comment the word donor below and I will send you the link. So I hope this information was helpful. Do you have advice for fundraising or what new nonprofit founders should do? If you have your own advice, comment below because we support each other in this community because we want all of us to win. Thank you so much for watching. If you need help with your nonprofit, visit me at bossonabudget.com and I will see you in the next video.